Here, read this.
Woof.
Hello everybody, Ash here from the Ear Read This podcast. Now, in my last video, I was asking the question, why has there never been a film adaptation of Paradise Lost? I couldn't believe it. Across the whole history of cinema, there has never been a feature film adaptation of Paradise Lost. So today, I'm taking matters into my own hands and casting my dream production. So, what you see before you is a call sheet, I guess. All of these little pictures are artwork for Milton, for my upcoming Paradise Lost podcast. Behind each of these squares is the actor I will be casting in the role. So let's just go through it from the top, starting with the main man himself, God. Now, I've gone for Joe Pesci.
Yeah, I'm in.
And the reason I've cast Joe Pesci is I want to tackle a major critical question in Paradise Lost head on right from the jump. And that is the question of likability. For centuries, it's been a critical commonplace to suggest that Milton has failed to justify the ways of God to men, as he sets out to do in Paradise Lost, on account of the fact that his God is unlikable. He's a bit of a meanie. Readers have found him hard to relate to. So in casting Joe Pesci, I want a God who answers back, likable how? How am I likable? You think I'm a little kind of teddy bear? You think I'm here to, comfort you? God, of course, does some things that to us are read as quite unlikable, even incomprehensible. And I've seen Joe Pesci shoot a waiter for virtually no reason. I've seen troubling behind-the-scenes footage of him sexually assaulting a Muppet.
You know, I'm in a very dangerous position for you.
Depends on how you look at
That's true.
it. Without teeth, it might be a great position for me.
These are not likable things, and yet he does them all with this sort of improvisational flair that I think would befit a celestial creator. You know, watching Pesci simulate curb stomping that Muppet, one can only think ours is not to reason why. And likewise, on the physicality side of things, you know, the Christian God is not some kind of barrel-chested Zeus. He cannot be perceived by human sight. And I want to remind audiences of that by having him take on a very surprising appearance. You know, an elderly Italian-American man with a squeaky voice. Moving on then, Jesus, I've gone for Brian Blessed. Why have I cast Brian Blessed? Well, his name is Brian Blessed. Maybe an unconventional choice. I don't think Brian Blessed would be very good for a crucifixion story. You know, a Christ that is careworn and beatific. I don't want to cast any aspersions about Brian Blessed's range, but I don't see him as a creature of quiet self-sacrifice.
A long and healthy life to him!
But Paradise Lost isn't a crucifixion story. We have the war in heaven, the angelic war, Battle Christ, for which I think Blessed would be nailed on for. Sticking with the angelic speaking parts then, we have Michael, Abdiel, and Raphael. I'm going to cast Missy Elliott, Elliot Page, and Mel Gibson. I just want to watch the culture war commentators pick the pips out of that. And then finally, to wrap up Heaven, I have sort of my ensemble, the kind of background angels, and I'm basically just going to cast a lot of twinks. So young men, all of legal age, obviously, but some of them might look a bit borderline. And they'll be, you know, giving neck rubs to Pesci and Blessed in the ambrosial fount. Imagery that is not uncontroversial, and that's quite deliberate. You know, I want to sell tickets here and get people talking. Moving down a spiritual level, we come to Adam, major character, obviously, in the story of Paradise Lost. And with Adam, I've gone for pure star power. Jackie Chan.
Yes.
Hello? Yes, this is Jackie speaking.
Now, some people might suggest that this is a cynical financial play. He is, of course, box office gold. both here and overseas. And sure, that's definitely a consideration. But I also have practical considerations. Adam lives in a garden. You know, he navigates trees. He lives in the wild. And Jackie Chan is one of the most nimble guys I've ever seen. And I can just see Chan kind of swinging around, making the most of his physicality. Perhaps, choreographing some kind of Old Testament parkour. Some people might say that he's too old. Well, we don't really know how old Adam and Eve are supposed to look. Spiritually, they're children, they're innocents, but, there's nothing to say that Adam doesn't look like a 70-year-old Chinese guy. Finally, as I mentioned on my other video, when I was looking up reasons for why there has never been a Paradise Lost film made before mine, one of the things I kept coming across was the difficulty of filming Adam and Eve in the nude. Well, just in case there are any producers worried about that, I'd like to point out the fact that Jackie Chan has invented an entire martial art around hiding his balls. Moving on to Eve, for Eve I wanted someone who could, balance Chan's energy, and that proved really difficult. So I decided to kind of scrap that plan and instead choose someone who could sort of counterbalance him, to kind of juxtapose him. And so I was thinking someone who is serene, dry, kind of acerbic. So I ended up going for Joanna Lumley.
Sex pitch, aristo, sex punk whore bitch. Prosy, lesy, punk tar. Slut. Oh, but Alex, with lovely shoes. Oh, yes.
Now, I thought that was really, off the wall at first, but then I sort of sat back a bit and thought about it, and I could just see, Jackie Chan kind of hopping around, whooping ass, and Joanna Lumley's Eve just sort of, just standing in the background, saying a lot without saying a lot, if you know what I mean. And I felt something. I felt there's a spark there, and I think there's a reason why for so long people have wanted to see these two kind of pair up, Chan and Lumley. Now, moving out of the Garden of Eden, but not quite down to hell, we have the two very memorable allegorical figures of sin and death, who Satan meets on his way to the Garden of Eden. Now, sin, this was just completely instinctive. Salma Hayek. I've no idea why, but as long as I can remember, I've associated Salma Hayek with sinning. Ever since I was a teenager, in fact, especially as a teenager, the thought of Salma Hayek and sin has just been like a horse and carriage. Why that is completely mysterious, but I'm hoping that it's one of those intuitive things that proves to be true for other people as well, and that it's not just my experience. Now, for the character of Death, who is a very imposing physical presence but doesn't actually say anything, has no lines, I at first thought of the Oscar-winning actor Javier Bardem. But then I thought, no, Feathers McGraw off of The Wrong Trousers. He's quiet, he's menacing, and I don't think he's worked since 1993. And I would love to be, as a big fan, I would love to be part of getting his career back on track. Kickstarting the McGraw-nescence. Next, we descend into hell. And just like in heaven, I want the ensemble devils and demons to be played by basically just a load of twinks. They could even double up, they could be the same actors as the ones playing the ones in heaven. But I want their tone to be different, so instead of being like happy, giggling twinks, I want them to be all kind of, like surly and peeved, less like... and more like sort of a bit of that, subtle touches like that, things happening in the background that the audience can pick up on if they want to. I think will just really lift this production. Next up, for the devils that have speaking parts, I've gone for Rupi Kaur, Whoopi Goldberg, and Woody Allen. Again, really just to provoke cultural commentary. I'd just be really interested to find out what these decisions get me accused of. For the builder of Pandemonium, the fallen architect, Mulciber, I've gone for quite a controversial casting decision. I might actually lose people here. I've gone for Albert Speer, Hitler's architect. Some people will say you can't cast a decades-dead Nazi. But I would argue to those people that they've forgotten why they became casting directors in the first place. And if they said, no, literally, he's a dead Nazi, I would reply, are you forgetting that we're filming this sequence in hell? I've potentially just saved the production an absolute packet in travel expenses. Plus, it's always useful to have a member of the cast on location who knows the place. As for him having, no acting ability, this guy was a top-ranking Nazi who managed to persuade 5 noose-happy Nuremberg judges that he was basically all right. You're telling me he can't act? Finally, we come to the big man himself, our lead, if you like, Satan. And for Satan, I wanted, the epitome of an adversarial spirit. Someone who we could believe was a leader, cast into exile with his crew of cohorts, thrown through space and time, a figure of frustrated wrath. And there was only one person that I could think of that fit the bill here, and his name is Khan Noonien Singh. Like a dying star, ejecting waves of glorious light, at this point in the video, the layers of stupidity witnessed so far collapsed into a single, simple truth, that contrary to what Ash had previously believed, there had in fact been a film adaptation of Paradise Lost all along. It was simply released under the name Star Trek II: The Wrath of. Thank you for watching Ear Read This. Tune in next time for a Miltonic trek through space.